You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Welcome back On Air with Chris Shanafelt as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class. I'm now joined by Mikey Daniel, tailback out of South Dakota State University. Mikey, I appreciate you taking the time this evening. How's everything going?
It's great. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. The pleasure's all mine. And, just to give people some background information on you, Mikey, you're from Brookings, South Dakota. You actually spent a year of high school at IMG Academy out in Florida. To kick things off, what was that experience like, and how did you wind up at South Dakota State? Why was it best for you to become a Jackrabbit?
So I originally started in Seattle, and then I moved from there to Brookings, South Dakota. After that, I did accept an opportunity to come down to IMG down here in Florida the first year of the program. I actually do have the first touchdown in the program's history, so that's pretty cool. And then that was my junior year. I came down here. I went back home to South Dakota for my senior season. We went to the state championship actually that year. My senior year was the first time Brookings had been to a state championship in like 14 years. So it was, awesome experience. And then Brookings is where South Dakota State is at. So it was just my hometown, and it was, I was able to be there with my family, and my mom was able to come. My family was all able to come to the games and everything like that. So it was just unique, and it was a cool experience for me. To be honest, I ended up walking on to South Dakota State. What came in at like 8th on the depth chart, and then after my, that freshman season, I redshirted, and then that next season as a redshirt freshman, moved all the way up to 3rd on the depth chart, earned a scholarship, and things kind of took off from there.
Wow, that's pretty incredible coming in as, the 8th running back, and then ultimately, just looking at the impact you would have on the team the past 4 years. I actually visited South Dakota for the first time in October, Mikey, and it just so happened to be when you guys hosted College Game Day. How big is Jackrabbits football in the state of South Dakota? And being from Brookings, did you ever feel like there's any added pressure or expectations being a part of the team? Because I know it's a really big deal out there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, South Dakota State is the premier school, obviously, of the state. I think we've had 3 or 4 straight top 8 seeds and first-round byes come in the playoffs. Been to the semifinals 2. I went to the semifinals 2 of my 4 years while at South Dakota State. And then just being from Brookings, obviously, it's not a huge people or a huge town. There's about 30,000 people there with the college. So everyone knows who you are, especially being a hometown kid. The guys always call me the hometown hero. They joked about that all the time because anywhere you go, people would know you, which is cool. But like you said, it's definitely a lot more pressure just because one way or another you're going to hear about the games and how you did. And everyone, always thinks they're a coach and wants to tell you what the team should be doing, stuff like that. So, there's definitely a lot more pressure. But I've always responded well to the pressure, and I enjoyed it, and I loved being able to bring being part of the first team to bring College Game Day, like you said, to South Dakota State.
Yeah, and Mike, you've touched on it. I mean, you've been a part of one of the top football programs in the FCS over the past 4 years with the Jackrabbits. What was it like playing for head coach John Stiegelmeier? How has he and his staff helped you and put you in the right positions to have the type of impact that you've had over the years? Again, something that's still sticking with me. You come in as a walk-on. There's about 7-8 guys ahead of you, and to go on and have the type of career that you had is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And playing for Coach Stig was awesome. He's a real spiritual guy, real religious. So he's big on faith and family ahead of football. And so, when there's times where people needed to go home or do stuff, he was always okay with it, just communicate and talk. So, he, like I said, he was always big on his family and his faith, which had a big emphasis on me and helped me grow quite a bit. I had a unique experience in my time there because I had four different coaches in my 5-year career. So that was, like I said, interesting. 4 different running back coaches, that is. And I was able to learn and grow because everyone has their own unique spin and the way that they coach and the way they approach the game. So, it was a blessing to have all those different coaches and get all those different styles. But like I said, they all preach the same thing that Coach Stig did, and that was faith, family, and then football. So that was good. That was a good environment to be a part of.
Were you ever nervous with any of those new position coaches, Mikey? Did you ever think to yourself, maybe this coach wouldn't use you to the best of your standards?
Without a doubt. I think that's a natural feeling. I think all the guys that, felt that way when we had new coaches. Just, how would they coach? How would they respond to us? It's definitely, it's a challenge, but being able to adapt has made me become who I am. And having that experience of having those different coaches throughout my career, that's the name of the game. So being able to adapt and grow and run with new things, that's what I pride myself on, and I was able to do that in my time there.
And yeah, that's certainly a testament to you and the fellow running backs at South Dakota State. Of course, Mikey, you've been a part of one of the top offenses in the country that included quarterback Taryn Christian, wide receiver Jake Weinecke, Dallas Goddard, who turned himself to a second-round draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll probably go down as one of the most high-powered offenses in FCS history. What was it like to be a part of that dynamic duo, or dynamic group, I should say?
And it was awesome. It was so cool just to see how they worked, to see how they competed, see how they approached practice. I roomed with Taryn, one of my best friends. His demeanor when he went onto the football field, like he's a goofy dude off the field, but when it was time to work, it was time to work. And that was one thing that I learned and was able to grow in my part of the game, is that when it's time to work, it's time to work. And he came in as a freshman, ended up starting like 8 games. There was an injury, and then, like I said, he ended up kind of taking off and having himself a really good season as a true freshman. So just all those guys. Dallas actually was a walk-on as well. He's from a small-town school in South Dakota. He walked on, ended up working, and making himself into that second-round draft pick. Jake Weinecke, he had one offer, and we were his only offer out of high school. He goes and breaks every record in the Missouri Valley. Just all high-powered players that, have stories similar to mine. Not necessarily the highest recruiter from the biggest areas, but they made themselves who they were based off work. So that's kind of the attitude and demeanor I took on to my game.
And that's obviously a credit to you guys, the players, and of course a credit to the coaching staff being able to get the best out of you guys. How about the toughness that you bring to the backfield, Mikey? Is that something that you take pride in, the fact that, when watching your tape, watching some of your highlights, preparing for this interview, very rarely will the first offender bring you down. You're either, leaping over the guy or you're certainly not afraid to lower your shoulder. Is the toughness factor that you bring to the running back position something you pride in?
Absolutely. And everyone has a role. We were so deep at running back every year that I was there. So just finding my role and excelling in my role has helped me get to where I am. That's where I became successful. I've had a lot of talks with my coaches and saying, this is your role, and this is what you have to do, and you have to embrace that and accept it. And that's hard to do, obviously. Everyone wants to be the star guy. Everyone wants to be, all the carries and stuff like that. But when you have so many different running backs that can eat, and truly eat, everyone wins when everyone has a role and can, perform to the best of their abilities at their role. And definitely the toughness and stuff. That's why I'm that's why I decided to make the transition to fullback coming for this NFL draft. Just my size and athleticism, and my ability to block has really opened up some doors as a fullback.
And, you brought it up, making the switch to the fullback position, Mikey. I'm sure it's something that at first maybe wasn't too easy to decide on, but now here you are, you've embraced that role. How does your game, factor into the fullback position? You're a guy that, as you said, you would fight for the tough yards, and you scored 21 touchdowns in 2 years in a row as a sophomore and a junior, and then 7 more touchdowns this past season. You have 30 career touchdowns, Mikey, so you're used to getting the ball in your hands. Talk about making the switch to the fullback position, and obviously with playing in the fullback position, special teams is also involved. You're probably going to be used as a special teams contributor as well. How much do you look forward to making an impact on that side of the ball as well?
Yeah, I got to do whatever I have to do to help the team, and that's what I want to do. And I played every single special team while playing at South Dakota State, so it's nothing new to me. Like I said, when you're so deep at running back, you have to find ways to get on the field, and that was one of the ways that I was able to get onto the field, whether it was being the off returner on kick returner, going down and making a tackle on kickoff or punt. I was able to find a way to get on the field and have an impact.
Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL Draft prospect fullback Mikey Daniel out of South Dakota State University. And Mikey, last month you participated in the College Gridiron Showcase, a college football all-star game that consists of some of the top players in the country. What was it like going up against guys that at the end of the day they have the same end goal as you, and that's to make it professionally?
That was an awesome experience. Especially for a guy that's not necessarily highly touted. I didn't have any film at fullback, so I had a couple plays here and there where I'd make a lead block for a quarterback and stuff like that. But truly playing fullback, I never really did it. So when I went to the College Gridiron Showcase and I put my hand in the dirt for basically the first time, that was a new and cool experience, and I was able to excel. In my time there, I left a good imprint on a lot of the scouts there, and a lot of people took notice, so that helped me so much in this process, and I'm forever grateful to the CGS for that.
And what would you say is the biggest or toughest transition from going to running back to fullback, Mikey? Is it just simply, at times you're going to have your hand in the dirt? Is it making plays without having the ball in your hand? What exactly is it about the fullback position that's a little bit more different than the running back position?
To be honest, it'll be more leveraging and, position blocking. Like I said, I'm no stranger to the game of blocking. I did a lot of that at South Dakota State, whether it was, lead block for a quarterback power or just blitz pickup. I was kind of our staple running back for that. So I'm no stranger to it. And to be honest, I think it's more of an advantage to me coming from running back because I'm able to think like a running back and think of where they would want to run the ball, so that helps me block better for it, just having that natural instinct.
Absolutely. That's certainly a great point. I know you have your pro day coming up. I believe it's March 27th, if I'm not mistaken. That'll obviously be a huge day for you, probably the biggest day throughout this process, minus the draft itself, Mikey. Where are you training at, and what are some of the numbers that you have in mind that you'd like to put up at that South Dakota State pro day?
Yeah, so I made my way back to IMG Academy down here in Bradenton, Florida, working out with Morgan Mo Wells. We had a lot of guys at the combine, so had a really good week there. Whether it's Grant Delpit at safety, Justin Jefferson at wide receiver, there's plenty of guys that really just balled out. A lot of guys from LSU, Oklahoma State, Mississippi State, Michigan State. So I was just been around, a lot of great players, and seeing how they work has really helped me too, and seeing what it takes. But as far as numbers, I'm really expecting to hit anywhere between 4.5, 4.6 to the 40. I'm sitting around 30 to 35 reps on the bench right now. I'm sitting around 4.1 pro agility, about 34.5, 35 vertical, and about a 10-foot broad jump. So my numbers are going to look pretty solid. And like I said, I have that natural running back stuff, so I have that change of direction down, and everything's going to look pretty smooth, I think.
Yeah, I mean those would be impressive numbers for a running back, but for a fullback to put up those numbers, Mikey, that'd be even more impressive. Do you mind if I ask what your current height and weight is?
Yeah, I'm sitting around really close to 6 foot. It depends on the day. But I'll say 5'11", 3/4. I'm 240, so.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, obviously some great size as well that you offer. I have to ask you, Mikey, how about playing in the Missouri Valley Football Conference? It's the toughest conference in the FCS from top to bottom. I put it up there as arguably the most competitive conference in college football. I mean, you could put it up there with, some of the top FBS conferences. Certainly the most entertaining conference, in my opinion, Mikey. Every year we see great talent come out of the Valley. Who would you say are a couple of the best players that you've lined up against over the years?
Yeah, it's definitely the competitive conference, and people compare it to the SEC of the FBS. Every week you got to kind of bring it all, because any given week you can be beat. So it's been an awesome experience for me. But I'd say probably the best guys that I've probably suited up against. I believe his name is Colin Sanders out of Western Illinois, the D tackle who just won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Him. Who else is there? Brett Taylor from Western Illinois. Actually, there's a lot of guys that were pretty solid. And then obviously we played against Carson Wentz, who we all know about him. So
and carrying on with Carson Wentz, North Dakota State Bison. What about that rivalry? I mean, how anticipated of a matchup is that year in and year out? And just talk about the rivalry that is between North Dakota State and South Dakota State.
Everyone gets up for that game. There's no way around it. That's a huge game, and obviously it's got to be a big game if we had a college game day for it. They came all the way to Brookings, South Dakota for that game. So that kind of speaks volumes to how big the rivalry really is. I've been fortunate enough in my 4-year career, we beat them 2 out of the 4 times in the regular season. So that doesn't happen, to them. I think we're right there. We're getting to where we need to be. We're taking the right steps to really take over in the playoff part of it, and win that national championship. They do everything right, though. They don't make mistakes. They're fundamentally sound, and that's why they're so good. They're very disciplined, and it's always, like I said, a fun game, and everyone looks forward to it. It's always circled on the calendar, and everyone will tell you it's just another game, but it's not just another game. It's a big game, and we all know what's riding on it.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course they're actually in the news today as their star linebacker Jabril Cox announced that he'll be transferring from the program, so we'll see where he lands. Final question for you, and then we'll let you go. Mike, you really do appreciate your time. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the fullback out of South Dakota State University, Mikey Daniel, a part of their team?
Because I'm so much more than a fullback. That's what I'm labeling myself as, because I have to label myself as. But I'm truly a hybrid. I can do so many different things, and my athleticism speaks to that. I'm able to catch the ball well out of the backfield. I can line up a receiver. I can line up, a kickoff, go make a tackle. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm a football player. That's always what I've prided myself on, is being a football player and making most of all my opportunities. I learn fast. I learn quick, and I don't really make mistakes. I'm a perfectionist in what I do, and that's just how I operate. So, like I said, I'm labeled as a fullback, but I'm so much more than that. So if you want a guy that can, do so many different things, I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
Including throwing the ball. You've only thrown the ball twice, Mikey, but you do have 2 completions. It went for negative yardage, but if asked to do so, you could certainly complete a pass or 2.
I could definitely complete a pass, and it definitely wasn't ideal having negative yardage from a passing attempt. But hey, you win some, you lose some.
That's right, Mike. You really appreciate your time. Congrats on all the success at South Dakota State over the past 4 years, and really looking forward to seeing these numbers that you put up at your pro day, and of course what the next couple of months have in store for you, man. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much.